Choi Min-jun died because of noodles. Not metaphorically, literally. Friday, 23:47, he was carrying home a bag of ramen from a convenience store, looking at the receipt because the cashier had overcharged him again, and didn't see the open manhole in the middle of the sidewalk. 3 meters down. Head, concrete, darkness. And you know what's the most frustrating part? The ramen stayed lying on the sidewalk. Untouched. Didn't even spill. 24 years old. Night shifts at a convenience store. A one-room apartment on the outskirts of Seoul that he shared with some guy who always paid late. No girlfriend. The neighbor's cat that sometimes came in through the window and ate his food. That was his whole life. Not much, he managed to think in the darkness between death and whatever came after. Then a voice came. Not from outside, from inside, like a system notification you can't dismiss. Registered. Choi Min-jun, 24 years, cause of death, traumatic brain injury. Classification, accidental, unjust. Compensation protocol for unjust death activated. Reincarnation form, demonic fox. Initial stage, first heaven. 9-tail system activated. Place of reincarnation. World of Asherin. Warning. The path from the first heaven to the 9th is long, dangerous, and very, very interesting. Welcome. Min-jun wanted to object. He was already opening his eyes and there was grass in front of him. For the first 5 minutes, Yeoman lay in the grass and refused to accept reality. It was a legitimate reaction. A man died, woke up in the body of a small animal in an unfamiliar forest under 3 moons. He deserved at least 5 minutes of denial. On the 6th minute, reality knocked with its fist. A large bird with a beak like a knife and red eyes without pupils, the size of an eagle. It looked at him with the unmistakable interest predators use when looking at food. So that's how it is, thought Yeoman. Welcome. The bird spread its wings and struck with its beak. He jumped. Instinct fired before reason. The fox cub's body knew what to do better than the head of a former cashier. 4 paws pushed off. The tail leveled the trajectory. He ended up 2 meters to the right. Oh, I can jump. The bird turned, attacked again. And then Yeoman felt something strange. Beneath the fear, beneath the normal animal fear that said, run, 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 there was something else. Warm. Dark. Evil, in a good sense of the word. Like an ember just waiting to be fanned. The system flashed. Demonic spark. First awakening. Condition met. Threat to the host's life. Skill unlocked. Foxfire. Demonic flame of blue color. First stage. Weak. Unstable. Damage. Low. Effect. Fear in creatures below copper rank. The bird struck with its beak again and Yeoman didn't jump away. He opened his jaws. Blue fire, a small tongue, the size of a lighter flame, burst out toward the bird's beak. The bird screamed. Not from pain, from fear. It jerked back, beat its wings, took flight, and flew off into the darkness of the forest as fast as if demons were chasing it. Technically they were, thought Yeoman. He stared at the tip of his paw where a tiny blue flame had trembled just a moment ago. Then the flame went out. System. Monster repelled. XP, plus 15. Total XP, 15 out of 500. 15 out of 500. A long way to go. He sat in the grass, wrapped his tail around his paws. It happened automatically. The fox cub's body knew how to be comfortable, and began to think. The system opened willingly, as if it had only been waiting for him to calm down enough to read. World of Asherin. Quick reference. Magic and Kai. All living things in Asherin possess Kai, internal energy. The difference between a peasant and a god is the quantity, quality, and control of Kai. Cultivation is the process of strengthening and purifying Ki. Cultivation ranks from weak to strong. Copper, iron, bronze, silver, gold, jade, celestial, divine. Most people are copper or iron. Reaching gold in a lifetime is an achievement. Jade, legends. Celestial and divine, myths. Demons are creatures of natural dark Kai. A powerful demon can passively absorb Kai from the surrounding world simply by existing. Demonic fox is a special class. Power lies not only in Kai but in illusions, deception, and manipulation. A fox demon of the seventh heaven and above can take human form. The ninth heaven is the apotheosis. A nine-tailed fox in Asheron is a god. Literally. In Asheron they worship spirits, elements, and mythical creatures. Cults of gods are widespread. One of the ancient cults is the cult of the fox. It faded 1,000 years ago when the last nine-tailed fox disappeared. Its priests scattered, temples destroyed. But the cult did not die entirely. It is simply waiting. Yeoman read this in the darkness under 3 moons and felt something large and heavy settling onto his. One of the ancient cults is the cult of the fox. It faded 1,000 years ago when the last nine-tailed fox disappeared. Its priests scattered, temples destroyed. But the cult did not die entirely. It is simply waiting. Yeoman read this in the darkness under 3 moons and felt something large and heavy settling onto his small fox shoulders. 1,000 years without a nine-tailed fox, a faded cult, destroyed temples. And here I appear. 4 kilograms, 1 tail, and a flame the size of a lighter. He exhaled. It came out as a funny fox snort. All right, have to start somewhere. The forest at night was full of sounds. Yeoman lay in the fork of a tree. He'd found a spot with visibility in all directions, his scent masked by resin, and listened. Smell and hearing gave a picture better than any map. 100 meters away, a pack of small horned animals drinking at a stream. 200, something large moving slowly, heavy. Smell of blood and rot. 300, people. 2 of them. A campfire. Smell of iron and leather. People. Don't touch for now. Horned animals. 2 small, little XP. The large one with the smell of blood and rot. Interesting. He leapt from the tree silently. Fox step made the landing invisible and went toward the large one. It turned out to be a fallen boar. The system identified it immediately. Fallen boar. Monster infected with dark energy. Rank, copper lower. XP for kill, 80. The size of a small cow. Yellow tusks, black drool dripping. Hide with bald patches. Beneath them, black pulsating flesh was visible. 80 XP, thought Yeoman. That's good. But how do you kill a cow-sized creature when you're a 4-kilogram fox cub? He thought for 3 minutes. Then he had a plan. Not a good plan, but a plan. The boar moved through the bushes slowly, heavily. Yeoman waited on a branch directly above the path. Patiently. 5 minutes. 10. The boar came out under the branch. Yeoman jumped down onto its neck, right to the base of the skull, and bit. A fox cub's teeth are small, sharp. Under normal conditions, not enough. But Yeoman's Kai flowed into the bite automatically. The demonic spark knew what to do. A dark little flame directly into the spine. The boar howled, lurched, shook its head, tried to throw him off. Yeoman held on with his paws against the hide. Claws small but firm. Second bite, third. Each time a flash of dark Kai into the same point. The boar dropped to its knees. Fourth bite. The boar collapsed. Silence of the forest. Yeoman sat on the dead boar and breathed fast. The fox cub's body had taken its toll. Several scratches from the hide. One from a tusk. The boar had managed to jerk its head. System. Kill, fallen boar. XP plus 80. Bonus, first kill. XP plus 50. Bonus, kill of a creature 8 times above rank. Multiplier times 2. Total, plus 260 XP. Total XP, 275 over 500. Oh, thought Yeoman, multipliers. That's important. Then the boar's body began to crumble, not to ash, into dark energy which flowed toward Yeoman, absorbed through his skin. Warmth. Pleasant dark warmth. Demons feed on the energy of the killed. This is normal. Yeoman sat in the dark and felt himself becoming slightly stronger. Normal, then. He licked the paw where the tusk had cut him. The cut was closing slowly, but closing. Regeneration, too. Good. Somewhere in the night. Rustling again. He raised his muzzle. The smell of people. Closer. Those two by the campfire looked like they'd heard the boar's cry and were coming to check. First contact with people, Yeoman realized. Sooner than he'd expected. How to behave? Unclear. We'll see. He jumped onto the nearest tree and hid in the foliage. The two appeared a minute later. A man and a woman. Both young, early 20s. Simple clothing but with quality leather armor. Swords at their belts. The man had a torch. Smell, fatigue, road dirt, a little blood from old wounds. And Kai. The man's copper mid. The woman's copper high. They saw the dead boar, or rather what was left of it, already nearly crumbled, and exchanged glances. Someone killed a fallen, said the man. A contract one. Our contract one. Before us, said the woman. Voice dry, emotionless, no tracks, none at all. A monster? Monsters don't kill this cleanly. She crouched, looked at the ground. Bite marks. Small ones. Small? Like a fox. The man looked around. Then directly at the tree where Yeoman was sitting. Yeoman didn't move. Demonic gaze worked passively, just creating a light discomfort in those who looked in his direction. The man winced, looked away. Oh, Yeoman realized. Useful. There's nothing there, said the man. Contract failed, said the woman. She stood. Let's go. Lekka, we lost the payment. Let's go, Ren, she repeated. Firmly. Something is wrong in this forest. I can feel it. She could feel it. Copper high with developed instincts. Not surprising. They left. Yeoman sat in the dark and thought. Hunters. They take contracts for monsters. So there's a contract system. So there's an organization. So there are cities. I need to get to a city. Learn about the world. But first, become strong enough not to be food. 1,000 XP to the second tail. Let's work. Yeoman was methodical. That had stayed from his past life. Cashier work had trained him toward systematic thinking. He recorded prices, tracked errors, noticed patterns. The same approach worked in the forest. First week, reconnaissance. He circled the forest in expanding rings each day. Smell gave a map more precise than any drawn one. Where the water was, where the paths were, where monsters lived permanently, where they just passed through. The system identified creatures automatically. Yeoman memorized horned rabbits, rank F, 5 XP each, weak, fast, swamp toads, rank F upper, 15 XP, poisonous. Avoid. Bone wolves, rank copper lower, 60 XP, in packs of 3. Fallen boar, copper lower, 80 XP, solitary. Shadow deer, copper mid, 150 XP, rare, dangerous. Second week, hunting smart. He never fought fair, never. 4 kilograms against a copper lower, a fair fight is suicide. But an ambush, a trap, a strike to a vulnerable point, those worked. He studied anatomy through practice. Painful practice. The first bone wolf broke 2 of his ribs before Yeoman found the spot behind the ear to strike. The ribs healed overnight. Regeneration was accelerating with each day. Pain was a good teacher. Don't go there, strike here. This one. Blind with a scent illusion first. That one. Lure with a sound imitation. By the end of the second week, 4 bone wolves, 2 fallen boars, 1 shadow deer. XP, 487. 13 to the second tail. Third week, the 13th. The 13 XP he got from a horned rabbit. Small, timid, unremarkable little creature. The system flashed. Tails, 2/9. Form changed. Fox cub demon, second tail. Size increased. Now, medium dog. Weight, 14 kilograms. Second tail grants. All stats boosted times 1.5. New skills. Telepathy, transmission of thought images to sentient beings. Range, 10 meters. Form illusion, creation of a visual illusion. Demonic pressure, release of dark ki in a wave. The transformation was instant. He simply felt his body changing, expanding, becoming denser. The second tail appeared as if it had always been there, just dormant. Yeoman stood. It felt different now, more confident, more ground under his paws. more strength. He looked at his reflection in the stream. A beautiful fox, two golden tails, amber eyes that glowed with a faint blue flame in the dark. Telepathy, he thought, and immediately caught through the new skill, vague feelings around him. The thoughts of creatures, not words, images. A bird in the canopy was thinking about its nest and warmth. A rabbit in the bushes was thinking about fear and running. And somewhere far away, people, fatigue, anxiety, and one sharp, bright feeling, fear. Someone is afraid, Yeoman realized. That's not my concern. He stood for a second. That's not my concern. Another second. Oh, come on, he said aloud. It came out as a fox's growl, not a word, but expressive enough. He went toward the fear. She had been cornered at a cliff above the river. 3 of them, big, armed, bandits by all signs, dirty clothes, greedy eyes, weapons with someone else's blood. Copper lower each. She was alone. Young, around 18. Expensive clothing torn in the chase, light hair disheveled, a knife in her hand, small, decorative, useless against 3 swords. Kai weak, copper lower at best. Not a fighter. Behind her, a cliff, 10 meters above the river. The bandits weren't rushing, drawing it out. Where will you run, lady? Said the first. Yeoman sat in the bushes 20 meters away. Watching. 3 copper lowers, he thought. I'm copper upper now. Plus skills. Ratio. Manageable. But why get involved? He looked at the girl. She wasn't crying. That he noticed first. She was scared. He felt it through telepathy, fear like a cold wave. But she wasn't crying. She held the knife, looked at the bandits with that expression he recognized. If I'm dying, I'll make it cost something. Character, he noted. Still none of my business. 3 copper lowers will give a combined XP of 240 plus multipliers, purely for practical reasons. He stepped out of the bushes. No one noticed at first, a small fox in the dark. Then the first bandit felt something. Turned. 2 amber eyes glowing blue in the darkness. Yeoman activated demonic pressure. A wave of dark ki rolled from him in all directions. Not physical, energetic. Pressure on the mind, directly into the survival instinct. The first bandit stepped back involuntarily. The second dropped his sword. The third simply sat down on the ground with the look of a man who very much wanted to be somewhere else. 2 seconds of paralysis. Yeoman used them. Jump onto the first, bite the sword arm. Dark Kai into the muscle, a cramp. The sword drops. Strike with a paw to the face. The claws left 3 lines. The first one screams. The second recovered, swung. Yeoman was already not there. Fox step, ghostly, soundless. He appeared behind him, a jump, a bite to the calf. The second falls, the third ran, already in the forest, just the cracking of branches. Coward, noted Yeoman. Too bad, lost the XP. He turned around. The girl stood at the cliff's edge and stared at him. The first bandit was crawling toward the forest fast, not looking back. The second lay on the ground, quietly whimpering, holding his leg. Then everything fell silent. Only the night forest and 2 pairs of eyes, amber and green. Yeoman sat, wrapped his tails around his paws. Looked at her. She looked at him. A long pause. You saved me, she said. Quietly. Not a question. A realization. Yeoman watched. I can't speak. Telepathy. Images, not words. He sent an image. Everything is okay. She flinched, felt it, pressed a hand to her temple. You are speaking to me in my head? He sent a confirming image. She looked at him with that complex expression when you see something impossible and try to decide whether to trust your eyes. Then slowly lowered herself to her knees. Right in front of him. At eye level. 2 tails, she said. A demonic fox with 2 tails. A pause. I've read about such things in books. Another pause. Only in very old books. Yeoman watched. Smart, he noted. Educated. Expensive clothing. So, noble or wealthy. She slowly, very slowly, as one would before a wild animal, extended her hand. Yeoman looked at the hand. At her. Back at the hand. Is this a trap? No. No fear in her. Caution. Yes. Fear? No. Interesting. He allowed her to touch him between the ears. Fingers careful, light. Warm, she said quietly. I thought demons were cold. Yeoman sent an image. Stereotypes. She laughed, briefly, a little nervously, but a real laugh. My name is Era, she said. Era Deal. I am the daughter of the city lord of Valheim. City lord, Yeoman filed away. That means her father holds power in the nearest city. A very useful acquaintance. He sent an image of his name, the sound of Yeoman as a vibration. She read it with surprising accuracy. Yeoman, she said. He blinked. Confirmation. She looked at him for a long time. Then, I will recognize you, she said. When you're ready, come to Valheim. Tell the guards your name. I'll give the order. She stood. Took out a small medallion, a red stone on a silver chain. Set it down on the ground in front of him. So they know you're from me, she said. The House of Deal's protection mark. Then she walked toward the road. Not running, just walking. At the bend, she looked back. Thank you, Yeoman. Disappeared behind the trees. Yeoman sat, looked at the medallion. City Lord, daughter, protection mark. A contact in civilization. Established. Good start. System. Bandits repelled. XP plus 180. Bonus. Protection of a sentient being. XP plus 50. Total. XP 730 over 2,000. He picked up the medallion carefully in his teeth and went into the forest. 2 months passed. Over 2 months, Yeoman grew. Not physically, the system regulated body size. He grew in his understanding of the world. He studied the forest around Valheim within a 40-kilometer radius. Found the ruins of 3 old temples, all destroyed, all ancient. One had a half-worn image of a fox. The cult of the fox, he thought at the ruins. 1,000 years ago. XP by that point, 1,840. 160 to the third heaven. He decided to enter the city. Valheim was small by the standards of a capital, by regional standards, important. A trade hub, with strong walls and a market. About 15,000 residents. Guards at the gates with Kai at copper mid-level. Yeoman approached the gates at dawn. The guard, large, with a halberd, saw a fox with 2 tails and a medallion in its teeth. Stared for several seconds. What in the world? He started. Yeoman set the medallion on the ground, pushed it with a paw toward the guard. The guard picked it up, looked at the stone. Went pale. This is the Deal House protection mark. He looked at Yeoman. Yeoman sent an image. My name is Yeoman. Lady Era said to come. The guard felt the mental image and recoiled. Then composed himself. A professional. Wait, he said. His voice trembled only a little. He left. Came back 15 minutes later with a young officer. The officer looked at Yeoman. Then at the medallion. Then back at Yeoman. A demonic fox, he said slowly. With 2 tails. With Lord Dial's protection mark. Yeoman watched. Follow me, said the officer. Lady Ira is waiting. Era met him in the garden of the Dial house. In daylight she was different. Calmer, without fear and disheveled hair. Hair arranged, clothing fresh. Green eyes watching with the same sharp attention. She saw Yeoman. Something shifted in her face. Joy? Relief? You came, she said. Yeoman sat across from her, tails resting evenly. I've been thinking, she said. Since that night. A pause. A demonic fox with 2 tails who speaks into your head and drove off 3 bandits in 10 seconds. A pause. I read every old book in my father's library. The books say, she looked at him directly, that demon foxes grow toward the 9th heaven, and that a 9-tailed fox is a god, said an old voice. They both turned. In the doorway of the garden stood an elderly man. Small, hunched, in plain clothing. But his key, Yeoman felt it instantly. Gold-mid, an enormous gap from anyone he had seen before. Gold-mid in a small city, thought Yeoman. Who is this? Father, said Era. I heard, said Lord Deal. He looked at Yeoman. For a long time. With an expression Yeoman hadn't seen before, not fear, not curiosity. Something resembling awe, 2 tails. A pause. My grandfather told a story. His grandfather had seen a 1-tailed fox at the eastern forest. Said it was the most beautiful and terrifying thing he'd seen in his life. A pause. 2 tails. Alive. He slowly, very slowly, lowered himself to one knee. Yeoman looked at the elderly man with gold-mid key who was bowing to him. An unexpected situation, he thought. Lord Deal raised his head. I am not a cultist, he said, not a religious man, but I know history. A pause. The last 9-tailed fox disappeared 1,000 years ago. The world grew worse. The balance was broken. He looked at Yeoman. If you are growing toward the 9th, I will help however I can. Why, Yeoman sent as an image. Lord Deal understood. Because the world needs balance, he said simply. And because you saved my daughter. 3 more weeks, aided by Lord Deal's information about the region's monsters. Hunting became more efficient. The Lord knew where the fallen nested, where iron rank monsters roamed, where the dangerous zones were. 2,000 XP came faster than Yeoman had expected. Tails, 3/9. Form, demon fox, medium size. Weight, 28 kilograms. New skills, speech. Full verbal communication in all languages of Asherin. Minor form, illusion. Taking the form of a small creature, stable up to 10 minutes. Third heaven fire. Blue flame significantly strengthened. Demonic scent. Detecting lies through the smell of adrenaline and sweat. Accuracy, 85%. He opened his mouth. Word, he said. Cleanly. Clearly. In a human voice. Young, slightly low, with a faint rasp. Then he laughed. And it was a real laugh, not a fox's snort. The laugh of a creature that had been silent for 3 months and had finally found a voice. Era heard it from the window and came in. You're speaking? She said. Yes, said Yeoman. Speaking. She stood in the doorway, looked at him. The voice? Unexpected, she said. What did you expect? More beastly. A pause. You have a normal voice. Human. I have a normal head, said Yeoman. Inside. The paws are new. The head is the same. Era watched. Where are you from? She asked. Really? A direct question. She had been asking it with her eyes for 3 weeks. From another world, said Yeoman. Fell into a hole in the ground. Woke up as a fox. A long pause. That, she searched for words, is absurd, Yeoman helped. I know. I was going to say it explains a few things, she said. You look at the world too, detachedly for a demon, like an observer. Smart, he thought. I'm studying, he said. What exactly? Everything, said Yeoman. The world, people, myself. A pause. And the path to 9 tails. Era watched for a long time, then slowly smiled. For the first time, genuinely, warmly. Then she said, let me help with the first item. The rumor spread on its own. Yeoman hadn't planned it. People simply saw him a few times. Told others. Others told others. A demonic fox with 2 tails saved the city lord's daughter. A demonic fox with 3 tails lives in the Deal House and speaks in a human voice. A demonic fox killed a pack of iron rank monsters near the northern village. Alone, in 5 minutes. The last one was true. He had been hunting there, accumulating XP, and stumbled upon a village that monsters were besieging. He helped. The village survived. The village told everyone. Lord Deal summoned him to his study 3 months after his arrival. Rumors have reached other cities, said the old lord. And the capital. I know, said Yeoman. He sat on the desk, his favorite spot, a high vantage point, tails hanging down. And? King Astrid found out. A pause. He is concerned. Why? Because a demonic fox with 3 tails who helps people is either a trap or something impossible. Lord Deal watched seriously. The king does not trust the impossible. The king does not trust, Yeoman filed away. Logical. Will he send people? Already has, said the Lord. Investigators from the Key Academy? They'll be here in a week. Era entered the study. She was always nearby lately, like a shadow. A smart shadow that listened and thought. Investigators from the Academy? That's serious, she said to her father. Then looked at Yeoman. Are you ready? For what exactly? To be assessed by people who will be looking for a threat, she said. Yeoman thought for a second. Let them assess, he said. Yeoman? If I want to reach 9 tails, hiding all the time is pointless, he said. Sooner or later, everyone will see me. A pause. Better to control how they see me. Lord Deal looked at him for a long time. You, he said slowly, do not think like a beast. I already said the head is old, said Yeoman. There were 4 of them, a water mage, bronze mid, a woman around 40, cold eyes, an earth mage, male, bronze lower, 2 warrior escorts, iron upper each. The leader was the woman. Her name was Sarah. From the Key Academy of the Capital, an organization that tracked non-standard energetic phenomena and reported to the king. They arrived in the morning. Lord Deal received them with a courtesy that was a subtle way of saying, you are guests, not commanders. Yeoman waited in the garden. Sarah entered, saw him, and for a fraction of a second lost professional control. A 3-tailed demonic fox was sitting on a bench in the city lord's garden drinking tea. Yeoman, he introduced himself before she could speak. Investigator Sarah, she said. Composed herself? A professional. The Key Academy, by order of His Majesty. Sit down, said Yeoman. Era, would you bring them tea? Era, who was standing by the wall as always, concealed a smile and went for tea. Sarah and her team sat. Looked at the fox receiving guests as though he were the host. You are here to assess the threat, said Yeoman. Not a question. A demonic fox near a human settlement. Logical. Precisely, said Sarah. Demons do not live near humans voluntarily, especially high-ranked ones. I'm not high-ranked yet. Yeoman looked at his tails. 3 heavens. Still far from maximum. Far from a maximum which, according to historical records, Sarah spoke precisely, as if giving a report, is the level of a god, to whom people prayed 1,000 years ago. Prayed voluntarily, Yeoman noted. Fear takes many forms. Not always fear, said Yeoman. Sometimes simply respect for something stronger than yourself. Do you respect the power of gold-rank cultivators? A pause. That is different. Qualitatively, no, said Yeoman. Quantitatively, yes. Sarah looked at him for a long time. The earth mage beside her was writing something in a book, analyzing the aura. He's writing that no threat is perceptible, he thought. Because I'm not radiating aggression. Demonic pressure switched off. Dark key dampened. Control matters. Why do you live here? Asked Sarah. I'm studying the world, said Yeoman. Demons don't study the world. Most don't. A pause. I'm different. That explanation is unsatisfactory. Then run a test, Yeoman proposed. Check my aura, my intentions. You have the tools. I can see the crystal on your colleague's belt. Use it. The earth mage activated the crystal. Yeoman allowed it. Opened his aura fully without masking. Dark Kai, yes, demonic. 3 tails, yes, visible. But in the structure, not aggression. More like curiosity, analysis. And something the earth mage clearly had not expected to see in a demon. This. The earth mage looked at the crystal. Sarah. What? There's a human trace in the aura. A pause. Faint. Old. But human. As if. He searched for words. As if a human is living inside the demon. Because one is, thought Yeoman. Sarah looked at him with a new expression. Not fear, not hostility. Something else. Who were you, she said. Before. Yeoman finished his tea. A cashier at a convenience store, he said. The investigators stayed for 3 days. They studied, asked questions, wrote. On the second night, an attack. Yeoman smelled them before they reached the walls. 7 people. An unusual scent, with a chemical edge, like burnt metal and sulfur. Dark key in all of them, but not natural, induced, artificial. Cultists, he realized. The system provided information. Detected. Adepts of the Crimson Flame cult. Ranks. Copper upper to iron lower. 7 individuals. The Crimson Flame cult. A religious combat organization. They worship the Crimson Demon, a fallen fire spirit of Jade level. Methods. Abductions, sacrifices, forced implantation of dark key into weak cultivators. Current mission objective. Probably you, I figured, thought Yeoman. He sat on the roof of the deal house and watched as 7 figures in black cloaks climbed over the western wall. Quietly, professionally. Clearly not their first time. 7 people. The strongest. Iron lower. I'm iron lower. Roughly equal. But there are 7 of them. On the other hand, I'm smarter. He jumped down. The first cultist was walking through the garden along the side courtyard. In his hand, an unlit torch used as a club. At his belt, 2 daggers with red runes. Kai weapons, enhanced. He didn't hear Yeoman. Foxstep made movement completely soundless. Yeoman came up from behind, activated demonic pressure. Narrowly, aimed at one person only, not as a wave. A personal burst directly into the consciousness. The cultist froze. His knees buckled involuntarily, as they do for all creatures when something more powerful presses on the survival instinct. The torch fell. Yeoman stepped in front. Sat. Watched. A man of about 30, with burnt palms, the mark of a fanatic. Eyes reddish, Kai clearly implanted by force, not grown. Face contorted with fear in the effort to resist. Quiet, said Yeoman. The man flinched at the sound of the voice. Hadn't expected the fox to speak. Why are you here? Said Yeoman. One answer. Honest. The voice trembled. Orders of the first priest. Kill. Kill the demon fox. Stop him from growing. Stop him from growing, Yeoman noted. So the cult knows who I am. Knows the system. Knows that 3 tails will become 9. Interesting. How many of you are there in the region? Said Yeoman. I don't know. Yeoman increased the pressure by 1 degree. The man broke instantly. 23. At a camp by the Grey Ridge, only 7 came here. The rest are guarding the priest. Where exactly is the camp? Caves under the eastern slope, 3 hours from here. Good, said Yeoman. Last question. Did you join the cult voluntarily? A pause. The smell, demonic scent read it precisely. Fear, pain, hopelessness. No, said the man quietly. Forced Kai implantation, Yeoman recalled. He removed the pressure. The man collapsed to the ground, simply slid down, as if the bones had been taken out of him. Lie still. Quiet. Don't move, said Yeoman. Everything else, tomorrow. The remaining 6 he dealt with over the next 12 minutes. Not one by one. First he separated them. Minor form illusion. He turned into a cat. Small, dark. Walked past 2 cultists who were looking the other way. One glanced back. Saw a cat. Relaxed. Yeoman resumed his true form right behind his back. Demonic pressure. Paralysis. A quick, precise strike with a paw to a point on the neck. Knockout, not death. The second one by the same method. 2 unconscious. The remaining 3 sensed something. They grouped together, activated their Kai weapons. The red runes on the daggers began to glow. Yeoman stepped out of the shadow. 3 cultists looked at him. There are 3 of you left, said Yeoman. 2 are unconscious. 1 is talking to me on the other side of the courtyard. A pause. You know who I am. Demon Fox, hissed the middle one. The most aggressive, Iron Lower, the group's leader. The abomination the first priest ordered to destroy. 3 tails now, said Yeoman. And you think 3 Iron Lowers can handle it? There are 3 of us with Kai weapons. Did you see what I did to your companions? A pause. No, the leader admitted. Exactly, said Yeoman. You didn't see, didn't hear. They simply disappeared. He sat down. Tails settled evenly. I could have killed all 7 in those 12 minutes. I didn't. Think about why. The leader watched. In his eyes, anger and fear mixed together. The cult's implanted key pushed toward attack. His own instinct said, don't. Why? He said at last. Because you are not enemies, said Yeoman. You are tools. A pause. The enemy is the one who implanted Kai into you and sent you to die for someone else's goal. Silence in the garden. You have a choice, said Yeoman. You attack, I defend myself. Someone gets hurt. Or you put down your weapons. I speak with the Academy investigators who are inside the house right now. Your testimony about the cult's camp could be useful. In exchange, Lord Dale can petition for leniency. You're offering a deal, the leader said slowly. I'm offering a way out, said Yeoman. A long pause. The leader looked at his 2 companions. They looked at him. He lowered his dagger. The 2 followed. Era came out into the garden and saw the fox sitting in the center, 7 people in black cloaks around him. 2 unconscious, 5 standing with weapons lowered. She stopped. Yeoman, she said slowly. Wake investigator Sarah, he said. And your father. I have information about a cult camp 2 hours from here. Era looked at the scene for 1 more second. You could have called for help right away, she said. Didn't need help, said Yeoman. 12 minutes, 7 people, alone. 14 minutes, he corrected. I wasn't in a hurry. Era exhaled. Impossible, she muttered, and went to wake Sarah. Sarah came out into the garden in armor, Kai activated, ready for battle. Saw the same fox on the same bench, and 7 cultists sitting bound along the wall. She stopped. Alone? Alone, confirmed Yeoman. Would you like some tea? The interrogation of the cultists took an hour. Then Sarah closed herself in the study with Lord Deal. Yeoman wasn't deliberately eavesdropping, but scent and telepathy gave him fragments. The demon detained them himself. Information about the camp. Not a threat to the settlement. The Academy must know. Report to the king. An hour later, Sarah came out to Yeoman, stood before him. Silent for a second. I will send a report, she said. An objective one. A pause. It will state that the 3-tailed demonic fox displayed restraint, tactical thinking, and, she hesitated, assisted the Academy's investigation. That's fair, said Yeoman. It won't make you the king's friend, Sarah warned. Aster doesn't trust demons, especially ones growing toward the 9th heaven. I know. And you continue anyway. I have no other option, said Yeoman. Either I grow or I don't. I see no point in hiding and not growing. Sarah looked at him for a long time. You really aren't from this world, she said. Really? From where exactly? A world without magic, with poor lighting and alleyways. Sarah, unexpectedly to herself, almost smiled. I'll include that in the report, she said. About the alleyways? About the human inside the demon, she said. That matters more than the alleyways. The cult's camp needed to be destroyed. Not because Yeoman wanted to, he had enough to deal with already, but because the Crimson Flame cult knew about him. And as long as the camp existed, they would keep coming. Smarter, better prepared. Simpler to close the problem now, he thought, before the priest finds out the 7 failed. Sarah offered an academy squad. She had already requested reinforcements, arriving in 2 days. In 2 days, the priest will realize the group has disappeared, said Yeoman. That's a risk, Sarah agreed. I'm going tonight. Alone? No, said Yeoman. With you. Sarah looked at him. I'm bronze mid, she said. My colleague is bronze lower. 2 warrior escorts. Iron upper each. You're iron lower with demonic skills, she was calculating. Against 23 cultists and a priest of unknown rank. Not a frontal assault, said Yeoman. I do reconnaissance. Then precise strikes. Era was standing by the wall. As always, listening. I'm coming, she said. No, said Yeoman and Sarah simultaneously. Copper high with field mage experience, said Era. I've been studying combat techniques for 3 years. A pause. And I know the terrain better. Era. Yeoman, she looked directly at him. You saved me once. Let me be useful. A long pause. You stay behind me, he said. Always. Agreed. They found the caves under the eastern slope by smell. Burnt sulfur and metal. The scent of implanted Kai carried for a kilometer. Yeoman went ahead alone. Reconnaissance. Fox step made him invisible. Scent illusion masked the demonic aura. The cave complex was large. 3 entrances. Inside, by key sense, 21 beings. 2 yeomen had taken from the first group. The priest was felt deep within. Key, heavy, oppressive. Bronze upper, stronger than Sarah. That's a problem, yeoman noted. He returned to the group, reported. The priest is bronze upper, Sarah repeated. That's beyond my capability in direct combat. Not direct combat, said yeoman. Listen to the plan. The plan was as follows. Cultists guarded 3 entrances, 3 at each. Deep in the caves, a ritual hall, the priest, and the main body of adepts. Yeoman would go to the ritual hall through the main tunnel, alone, covertly. Sarah with 2 warriors, to the left entrance, quietly neutralized the guards. Sarah's colleague with Era, to the right entrance, same. Leave the central entrance open. An escape route for the cultists when chaos breaks out. Panic works better when people have somewhere to run. The signal to begin. Yeoman's blue fire above the cave. The problem, Yeoman thought as he approached the main tunnel, is the priest. 1-on-1, bronze upper against iron lower. Bad odds. But I have something the priest doesn't. 4th heaven. Kai grows faster under critical threat. Let's see how fast. The tunnel led downward, damp, with red runes on the walls. It glowed. Cultists used it as a corridor. 2 patrols, yeomen slipped past through a side niche. The ritual hall opened up suddenly, wide, with a high ceiling, with an altar of black stone at the center. Around the altar, 12 adepts in meditation, dark key concentrating at the center. And behind the altar, the priest. Tall. Thin. Around 50 in appearance. A robe with crimson inlays, face hidden by a hood. Kai heavy as stone. Bronze upper. The priest was meditating. Didn't sense yeoman. The scent illusion held. 30 meters to the altar. 12 adepts between me and the priest. We begin. Yeoman activated 3rd heaven fire. Not as an attack. A signal burst upward, through a crack in the cave ceiling. Blue flame lit the night sky for a second. The priest opened his eyes, and saw the fox at the entrance to the hall. 3-tailed, said the priest. Voice even, cold, like stone. Came himself. Why go to you when you would have come to me, said yeoman. Presumptuous for an iron-rank demon. You know what I am, said yeoman. Where I'm heading. That is precisely why you will die here, said the priest. The 9-tailed must not be reborn. The last one destroyed half the influence of the crimson flame 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, yeoman noted. So the cult remembers. And fears. Right to fear. 12 adepts, said yeoman. And you. Against me. You came alone. No. From outside. Sounds of battle. Shouts. Sira and her warriors were working the plan. The priest shifted slightly, distracted for a second. Yeoman used the second, a leap across the hall, straight over the meditating adepts. Demonic pressure. Maximum, a wave across the entire hall. 12 copper rank adepts. Instant paralysis. The priest, bronze upper, held. But for a fraction of a second lost concentration. Yeoman landed on the altar directly before him. Looking up from below, a fox on black stone, 3 golden tails. The priest looked down from above. 1 strike, he said, and you're dead. Try, said yeoman. The priest struck. Crimson flame Kai technique. A concentrated burst of red fire. Bronze upper pressure. Yeoman didn't dodge. He met the strike with his own fire. Blue against red. A collision in the air between them. Yeoman felt pain. Real pain. His blue fire at iron rank against bronze. Like a child against an adult. It pressed, but didn't break. Demonic Kai of the dark type against implanted imitation, he thought through the pain. Natural against artificial, a difference in quality, not only in quantity. He pushed harder. Everything he had. The blue fire flared brighter. Not just flame. It was something else. Pressure, fear, the darkness from which legends are born. The priest stepped back. One step, involuntarily. He's afraid, Yeoman realized. Not of raw power. He can feel what this is. A priest of a dark cult? And still afraid of the true dark Kai of a nine-tailed fox. You know, said Yeoman quietly, what I will become. You know it better than anyone. Your cult has remembered for 1,000 years. A pause. So you know that killing me now is only a delay. A delay has value, said the priest, but a crack in his voice. A small one. For how long? Asked Yeoman. Another fox will appear in 100 years. Or 200. The Crimson Flame cult has been fighting this for 1,000 years. And what? I'm here anyway. Outside, the sounds of battle were fading. The cultists were scattering. The 12 adepts in the hall were beginning to come out of their paralysis. Slowly, with difficulty. Time is short, Yeoman realized. He leapt, not at the priest, past him, to the wall behind the altar. On the wall, a large rune. The ritual core. Yeoman felt it through Kai perception. It held everything in the cave together, concentrated the dark energy, fed the implanted key in the adepts, third heaven fire into the rune. Everything he had, full burst. The rune flared, crackled, crumbled. A wave of released energy rolled through the cave. The adepts screamed, clutching their heads. The implanted Kai destabilized. The priest turned around. Too late. No, he began. Yeoman was already dropping from the ceiling. A leap with a ricochet off the wall. A strike with both paws into his back. Dark key into the point at the base of the skull. Not a kill. A blockade of the key channels. Technical knockout. The priest collapsed. Silence. Yeoman stood over him and breathed heavily. The pain was serious. Ribs again, shoulder, burnt muzzle from the collision of fires. But I'm standing. System. Kill. Neutralization. Priest of the Crimson Flame. Bronze upper. Method. Neutralization without lethal outcome. Bonus for superior opponent. ×3. XP plus 900. Bonus. Destruction of the ritual core. XP plus 300. Total plus 1,200 XP. Total XP 4,340 over 8,000. Sarah entered the hall with sword drawn, Kai activated, ready for the worst. She stopped. Yeoman sat beside the fallen priest. 3 tails, burnt muzzle, a tired look. You already finished, said Sarah. A few minutes ago, said Yeoman. Alone, against a bronze upper. An unfair count, said Yeoman. The rune helped more than I did. Ira burst into the hall right behind her, cheek bleeding from a small cut, dress torn, in her hand a combat staff that glowed. She saw Yeoman. You're wounded, she said immediately. It'll heal. Yeoman, it'll heal, he repeated. I'm fine. Ira looked at him with that expression he'd already learned to read. A mix of relief and anger. Relief that he was alive, anger that she'd been worried. You could have died, she said quietly. Could have, agreed Yeoman. But didn't. That's not reassuring. It's a fact, he said. Facts are more reassuring than words. Ira watched. Then came closer, crouched before him, carefully took his muzzle in her palms. Examined the burn. Does it hurt? She asked. A little. Don't lie. Demonic scent worked both ways, and she seemed to understand that. It hurts a lot, he said. Here, she took out a small vial from her bag. Healing elixir. Father always makes me carry it. She applied it to the burn. Cool. The pain retreated. Yeoman looked at her up close. Green eyes, serious face, blood on her cheek. A strange feeling, he thought. Warmth. Not Kai, just warmth. Remember this. Sira sent the report via magic post from the caves themselves. The reply came the next day. Lord Deal called everyone to the study and read aloud. The key academy is to continue observation of the demonic entity designated Yeoman. The demon is not classified as an immediate threat. However, growth toward the ninth heaven represents a strategic uncertainty. His Majesty reserves the right to a personal audience. A personal audience with the king, said Lord Deal. This is not an invitation, it's a warning that you are in his field of view. I understand, said Yeoman. Do you understand what this means politically? It means the king doesn't know what to do with me. Yeoman sat on the windowsill. While I'm weaker than his army, he waits. When I become more dangerous, that will change. And what will you do? Grow faster than he decides. Silence in the study. Sarah, who was staying one more day, looked at him with that expression he had already seen on her. Somewhere between professional assessment and something personal. You know, she said, you speak about growth with the same intonation normal people use when they speak about survival. For me, they are the same thing, said Yeoman. 8,000 XP came in 6 weeks. Hunting became systematic. Yeoman worked by region. He cleared nests of iron and bronze rank monsters, made the roads safer. Villages along the route paid with information, where the large nests were, where the dangerous zones were. XP along the way, reputation along the way. The golden fox with 3 tails who protects the roads from monsters. A demon who doesn't attack people. A creature from old books that speaks with a voice. The rumors spread faster than he moved. Tails, 4/9. Form, demon fox, human form unlocked. Now available, taking a fully human form. Appearance, young man, appearance determined by the host. Fox features completely masked, tails hidden but exist. New skills, fox form. Switching between fox and human form. Switch time, instant. Greater illusion, creating full illusory creatures or spaces. Up to 3 objects simultaneously. Fear absorption. Demonic ki is passively strengthened by fear around the host. The more fear, the faster the recovery. Fox domain, spatial bubble, 20-meter radius. Inside, illusions are completely real to the senses. Yeoman's speed times 1.5, foreign Kai weakened by 20%. Kai level, bronze lower. The transformation was different from the previous ones. Not simply growth in size or a new tail, it was a restructuring. Bones, muscles, form, painful, long, an hour in the forest by the river, curled up against the rocks. Then silence. Yeoman stood up on 2 feet. 2 feet. He looked at his hands. Human. Fingers. Palms. Skin pale, slightly golden. He felt his face with his hands like a blind person. Nose, cheekbones, lips. He walked to the river. Reflection. A young man. About 20 in appearance. Light golden auburn hair. Amber eyes with a vertical pupil. He hadn't hidden them deliberately, left them. Features sharp, symmetrical, beautiful in a non-human sense. Too perfect for an ordinary person. And the ears. He lifted his hair. Human ears, not fox ones. Nothing behind him. Tails hidden, but he felt them. Like a phantom weight. 4 golden tails. Invisible, but existing. This is me, thought Choi Min-jun in the body of a golden fox in the body of a young man. 3 layers. Cashier, fox cub, human. Which one is real? All 3, he decided. That's not a contradiction. That's simply me. He put on the clothes he had brought in advance. Found, taken from the travel bag of an unnamed merchant he had helped with monsters a week ago. Simple, dark, comfortable. He looked at his reflection one more time. Yeoman, he said to himself. Then smiled. A normal smile. A human one. Good. The guard at the gate saw a young man with amber eyes. Name, he said out of habit. Yeoman. The guard opened his mouth, closed it, looked at the eyes. at the hare. You, he began. Yeoman, the other repeated. I'm known at the deal house. The second guard pulled the first by the sleeve and whispered something. The first went paler. Please, go through, he said. Era was in the library, as always, sitting with a book, a stack of others beside her. Yeoman entered without knocking. She didn't look up. Who are you? She asked without turning around. Voice even, but her hand tensed slightly at the book. She sensed something. Yeoman. She turned around. Silence. Long silence. She looked at him. At a man with amber eyes. Rising slowly, not taking her eyes off him. You, she said, not a question. Fourth heaven, said Yeoman. You're human. No, he corrected. A fox in human form. But you look. I know how I look, he said. Ira stood a meter away, looking at him carefully, layer by layer. Then raised her hand, like the first time she had touched his ear in the garden. Stopped it in front of his face. May I? She asked. You may. She touched his cheek, fingers warm. His skin slightly warmer than human. Warm, she said. Warm again. You already said that. Back then you were a fox. I still am. She laughed quietly, a little nervously, took her hand back. Yeoman, she said. This. She searched for words. This changes everything. Why? Because you can walk among people. Live like a human. A pause. That's a different level. Yes, he agreed. Different. Will you stay in Valheim? For a while. She watched. Yeoman. Soon many will see you. In human form. A pause. The rumors already spread across the whole region. Demonic fox. She spoke slowly, thinking aloud. If you appear as a man with amber eyes and fox features, people will start talking. Let them talk. They will say you're a god, said Era. Quietly. Seriously. A fox in human form, 4 hidden tails, beautiful as something from a legend. A pause. Are you ready for that? Yeoman thought. A former cashier from Seoul. A god. Absurd. But the path to 9 tails, and the 9-tailed in this world truly is a god. That's a fact of this world, not arrogance. Then let them talk. Ready, he said. It happened by itself. The village of Eros. Small, 3 days from Valheim. Yeoman was passing by on his way back from a hunt. The village was being besieged by shadow wolves, a pack of 7, iron mid each. For a village without hunters, death. He stepped off the road, 7 wolves, human form activated, fox domain engaged. For the wolves inside the domain, the space became different. Illusions real, the enemy's speed unpredictable, their own key weakened. 3 minutes. The village watched from behind fences. When the last wolf fell, the young man with amber eyes stood in the center of the village, in the golden light of Kai, and behind him, 4 semi-transparent tails had manifested. They had appeared. He hadn't managed to hide them in time, too much Kai had been released. The village elder came out first. He stared for a long time, then fell to his knees. Blessed be the fox, he said. His voice trembled. From the old books. Alive. Behind him, the rest of the villagers, one by one, knees in the mud. Yeoman stood and watched the people bowing to him. Awkward, he thought. Very awkward. But the system. Registered. Voluntary worship. First collective recognition. Demonic key passively strengthened. XP plus 500. Effect, the faith of living beings feeds the key of the 9-tailed fox. The more believers, the faster the growth. Oh, Yeoman realized. So that's how it works. Not just hunting. Faith is also a source of power. This explains why the cult around him 1,000 years ago was no accident. It's a mechanic. The elder raised his head. Master Fox, he said, may we build something? In your honor? As gratitude? The first temple, Yeoman realized. He thought for a second. Small, he said at last. Simple. Nothing excessive. The elder beamed. What shall we call you? He asked. Master? Lord? What to call him? Yeoman, he said, just Yeoman. That night above the village of Eros, Yeoman sat on the roof of the tallest house, human form, legs hanging down, and looked at the 3 moons. The system quietly flickered. Total XP, 9,840 over 25,000. Tails, 4 over 9. Kai level, bronze lower. Believers, 47 people. Passive XP gain, plus 12 per day. To the 5th heaven, a long way. To the 9th, a very long way. Yeoman looked at the moons and thought about Choi Minjun, who had fallen into a manhole with a bag of ramen. What would you say, he thought, if you saw this? A village building you a temple, hunters weaving legends, a princess writing reports about your restraint, a lord's daughter touching your cheek? Probably wouldn't believe it. I barely believe it myself. Somewhere below, Era was awake. He felt it through Kai. The warmth of a living person behind the wall, thoughts quick, anxious. He dropped from the roof. Quietly, a habit from his fox days, knocked on the window. She opened it immediately, which meant she had been waiting. You're not sleeping, he said. Thinking. About what? About the fact that you will become a god, she said. Really? Not metaphorically. And about the fact that I was the first to meet you. A pause. And about the fact that I don't know how to deal with that. Yeoman looked at her. The same, he said. What? The same with me. Just like now. A pause. Tails are just a number. The form changes. Not me. Era watched for a long time. Do you promise? She asked. Yes, said Yeoman. And it was the truth. The only one he knew for certain, whatever he became, 9 tails or 1, inside remained the man who had fallen into a manhole and found the world astonishing. That could not be taken away. Era smiled. A real smile. Then go to sleep, she said. I don't sleep. Go pretend to sleep. Someone already said that to me in another life. A smart person, she said. Go. He went. Behind him, 4 phantom tails glowed faintly in the night. To 9, a long way. But there was a road. Valheim had changed. Not much, for an outside observer. But Yeoman felt the difference through Kai perception every time he entered the city. 47 believers had become 112. The small temple in the village of Eros, merchants had spread the word, traders had carried it further, travelers had added details, had turned into a legend retold by campfires. The golden fox in human form, amber eyes, 4 tails of light. He speaks, he thinks, he protects. Lord Deal summoned him in the morning, serious, without extra words. A second letter came from the king, he said. Set it on the table. This is no longer a warning. Yeoman picked it up. Read. The demonic entity. Yeoman is obliged to appear in the capital Astrid for a personal audience with His Majesty King Carrion III no later than 30 days from the receipt of this order. Failure to appear will be regarded as a hostile act. An order, said Yeoman. Yes, no longer a request. No. Yeoman put the letter back on the table. Looked out the window at the city, at the sky, at the 3 moons visible even in daytime in this world. I would have gone regardless, he said. Sooner or later. You understand this could be a trap, said Lord Deal. The king is inviting you to the capital, where his army is, his mages, his control. I understand. And I will be careful, said Yeoman. Era stood by the wall, as always. But today there was a tension in her posture that he could read easily. I'm coming with you, she said. Era, Lord Deal began. Father, she looked at him. I'm the daughter of a city lord. In the capital that carries weight. Yeoman alone is a demon summoned for an audience. Yeoman with the official escort of the Deal house is a guest who arrived with a retinue. A pause. The difference is political. Lord Deal looked at his daughter for a long time. You've become smart, he said. I was always smart, said Era. You just didn't always listen. The next day, 2 people were waiting at the gates of Valheim. The first, Sarah, already in travel armor with sword and staff. The Key Academy is sending an official escort, she said dryly. For documentation purposes. A pause. And because I'm curious how this ends. Fair enough, Yeoman acknowledged. The second, a young guy of about 18. Short, with a funny round face and a sword that was slightly too large for his build. Kai, copper upper, almost iron. Ren, he introduced himself. A hunter. Heard that the Golden Fox is heading to the capital. He looked at Yeoman with open admiration, making no attempt to hide it. I want to accompany you. Why? Said Yeoman. Because in 100 years I'll tell my children I rode with Yeoman to see the king, said Ren with complete seriousness. Era laughed. Sarah rolled her eyes. Yeoman looked at him for a second. All right, he said. Ren lit up. The road to Astrid, 8 days. On the second day, Ren walked beside Yeoman and talked. A lot. Without pauses. About monsters he had encountered, about cities he had visited, about a girl at a tavern who had poured him free ale. Yeoman listened. Young, energetic, honest. The scent doesn't lie, and lonely beneath all the chatter. Kai slightly unstable. The sign of someone who never had a teacher. You're self-taught, said Yeoman at some point. Ren stopped short. How did you? Kai, said Yeoman. Uneven. Like a river with the wrong channel. The energy is there, the current is wrong. Never had a teacher, Ren admitted. Father died when I was 12. Taught myself from books. Books are a poor way to learn, said Yeoman. I know. A pause. You could... He stopped. Could what? No, never mind. You're almost a god. Why would you? Say it. Ren looked at the ground. You could show me how to do it right, he said, quietly simultaneously. Fear. Absorption. Demonic ki is passively strengthened by fear around the host. The more fear, the faster the recovery. Fox domain. Spatial bubble. 20-meter radius. Inside. Illusions are completely real to the senses. Yeoman speed times 1.5. Foreign Kai weakened by 20%. Key level. Bronze lower. To the fifth heaven, 25,000 XP. The transformation was different from the previous ones. Not simply growth in size or a new tail. It was a restructuring. Bones, muscles, form. Painful, long. An hour in the forest by the river, curled up against the rocks. Then silence. Yeoman stood up on 2 feet. 2 feet. He looked at his hands. Human. Fingers. Palms. Skin pale, slightly golden. He felt his face with his hands like a blind person. Nose, cheekbones, lips. He walked to the river. Reflection. A young man. About 20 in appearance. Light golden auburn hair, amber eyes with a vertical pupil. He hadn't hidden them deliberately, left them. Features sharp, symmetrical, beautiful in a non-human sense. Too perfect for an ordinary person. And the ears. He lifted his hair. Human ears, not fox ones. Tails hidden, but he felt them. Like a phantom weight. 4 golden tails. Invisible, but existing. This is me, thought Choi Min-jun in the body of a golden fox in the body of a young man. 3 layers. Cashier. Fox cub. Human. Which one is real? All 3, he decided. That's not a contradiction, that's simply me. He put on the clothes he had brought in advance. Found, taken from the travel bag of an unnamed merchant he had helped with monsters a week ago. Simple, dark, comfortable. He looked at his reflection one more time. Yeoman, he said to himself. Then smiled. A normal smile. A human one. Good. The guard at the gate saw a young man with amber eyes. Name, he said out of habit. Yeoman. The guard opened his mouth, closed it, looked at the eyes, at the hair. You, he began. Yeoman, the other repeated. I'm known at the deal house. The second guard pulled the first by the sleeve and whispered something. The first went paler. Please, go through, he said. Era was in the library. As always, sitting with a book, a stack of others beside her. Yeoman entered without knocking. She didn't look up. Who are you? She asked without turning around. Voice even, but her hand tensed slightly at the book. She sensed something. Yeoman. She turned around. Silence. Long silence. She looked at him, at a man with amber eyes, rising slowly, not taking her eyes off him. You, she said, not a question. Fourth heaven, said Yeoman. You're human. No, he corrected. A fox in human form. But you look. I know how I look, he said. Era stood a meter away, looking at him carefully, layer by layer. Then raised her hand, like the first time she had touched his ear in the garden. Stopped it in front of his face. May I? She asked. You may. She touched his cheek, fingers warm, his skin slightly warmer than human. Warm, she said. Warm again. You already said that. Back then you were a fox. I still am. She laughed quietly, a little nervously, took her hand back. Yeoman, she said. This changes everything. Why? Because you can walk among people, live like a human. A pause. That's a different level. Yes, he agreed. Different. Will you stay in Weilheim? For a while. She watched. Yeoman, soon many will see you. In human form. The rumors already spread across the whole region. Demonic fox. She spoke slowly, thinking aloud. If you appear as a man with amber eyes and fox features, people will start talking. Let them talk. They will say you're a god, said Era. Quietly. Seriously. A fox in human form, 4 hidden tails, beautiful as something from a legend. Are you ready for that? Yeoman thought. A former cashier from Seoul. A god. Absurd. But the path to 9 tails. And the 9-tailed in this world truly is a god. Then let them talk. Ready, he said. It happened by itself. The village of Eros, small, 3 days from Weilheim. Yeoman was passing by on his way back from a hunt. The village was being besieged by shadow wolves, a pack of 7, iron mid each. For a village without hunters, death. He stepped off the road, 7 wolves. Human form activated. Fox domain engaged. For the wolves inside the domain, the space became different. Illusions real, the enemy's speed unpredictable, their own key weakened. 3 minutes. The village watched from behind fences. When the last wolf fell, the young man with amber eyes stood in the center of the village, in the golden light of Ki. And behind him, 4 semi-transparent tails had manifested. They had appeared. He hadn't managed to hide them in time. Too much Kai had been released. The village elder came out first. He stared for a long time, then fell to his knees. Blessed be the fox, he said. His voice trembled. From the old books. Alive? Behind him, the rest of the villagers. One by one. Knees in the mud. Yeoman stood and watched the people bowing to him. Awkward, he thought. Very awkward. But the system. Registered. Voluntary worship. First collective recognition. Demonic Kai passively strengthened. XP plus 500. Effect. The faith of living beings feeds the key of the 9-tailed fox. The more believers, the faster the growth. Oh, Yeoman realized. So that's how it works. Not just hunting. Faith is also a source of power. This explains why the cult around him 1,000 years ago was no accident. It's a mechanic. The elder raised his head. Master Fox, he said, may we build something? In your honor? As gratitude? The first temple, Yeoman realized. He thought for a second. Small, he said at last. Simple, nothing excessive. The elder beamed. What shall we call you? He asked. Master? Lord? What to call him? Yeoman, he said. Just Yeoman. That night above the village of Eros, Yeoman sat on the roof of the tallest house, human form, legs hanging down, and looked at the 3 moons. The system quietly flickered. Total XP, 9,840 over 25,000. Tails, 4 over 9. Kai level, bronze lower. Believers, 47 people. Passive XP gain, plus 12 per day. To the 5th heaven, a long way. To the 9th, a very long way. Yeoman looked at the moons and thought about Choi Minjin, who had fallen into a manhole with a bag of ramen. What would you say, he thought, if you saw this? A village building you a temple, hunters weaving legends, a princess writing reports about your restraint, a lord's daughter touching your cheek. Probably wouldn't believe it. I barely believe it myself. Somewhere below, Era was awake. He felt it through Kai, the warmth of a living person behind the wall, thoughts quick, anxious. He dropped from the roof. Quietly, a habit from his fox days, knocked on the window. She opened it immediately, which meant she had been waiting. You're not sleeping, he said. Thinking. About what? About the fact that you will become a god, she said. Really? Not metaphorically. And about the fact that I was the first to meet you. A pause. And about the fact that I don't know how to deal with that. Yeoman looked at her. The same, he said. What? The same with me, just like now. Inside remained the man. A pause. Tails are just a number. The form changes. Not me. Era watched for a long time. Do you promise? She asked. Yes, said Yeoman. And it was the truth. Whatever he became, 9 tails or 1, inside remained the man who had fallen into a manhole and found the world astonishing. That could not be taken away. Era smiled. A real smile. Then go to sleep, she said. I don't sleep. Go pretend to sleep. Someone already said that to me in another life. A smart person, she said. Go. He went. Behind him, 4 phantom tails glowed faintly in the night. To 9, a long way. But there was a road. Valheim had changed. Not much, for an outside observer. But Yeoman felt the difference through Kai perception every time he entered the city. 47 believers had become 112. The small temple in the village of Eros had turned into a legend retold by campfires, the golden fox in human form. Amber eyes. 4 tails of light. He speaks. He thinks. He protects. Lord Deal summoned him in the morning. Serious, without extra words. A second letter came from the king, he said. Set it on the table. This is no longer a warning. Yeoman picked it up. Read. The demonic entity. Yeoman is obliged to appear in the capital Astrid for a personal audience with His Majesty King Carrion III, no later than 30 days from the receipt of this order. Failure to appear will be regarded as a hostile act. An order, said Yeoman. Yes, no longer a request? No. Yeoman put the letter back on the table. Looked out the window at the city, at the sky, at the 3 moons visible even in daytime in this world. I would have gone regardless, he said. Sooner or later. You understand this could be a trap, said Lord Deal. The king is inviting you to the capital, where his army is, his mages, his control. I understand. And I will be careful, said Yeoman. Era stood by the wall, as always. But today there was a tension in her posture that he could read easily. I'm coming with you, she said. Era, Lord Deal began. Father. She looked at him. I'm the daughter of a city lord, in the capital that carries weight. Yeoman alone is a demon summoned for an audience. Yeoman with the official escort of the Deal House is a guest who arrived with a retinue. A pause. The difference is political. Lord Deal looked at his daughter for a long time. You've become smart, he said. I was always smart, said Era. You just didn't always listen. The next day, 2 people were waiting at the gates of Valheim. The first, Syra, already in travel armor with sword and staff. The Key Academy is sending an official escort, she said dryly. For documentation purposes. A pause. And because I'm curious how this ends. Fair enough, Yeoman acknowledged. The second, a young guy of about 18. Short, with a funny round face and a sword that was slightly too large for his build. Kai. Copper upper, almost iron. Ren, he introduced himself. A hunter. Heard that the golden fox is heading to the capital. He looked at Yeoman with open admiration, making no attempt to hide it. I want to accompany you. Why? Said Yeoman. Because in 100 years I'll tell my children I rode with Yeoman to see the king, said Ren with complete seriousness. Era laughed. Sarah rolled her eyes. Yeoman looked at him for a second. All right, he said. Ren lit up. The road to Astrid. 8 days. On the second day, Ren walked beside Yeoman and talked. A lot. Without pauses. About monsters he had encountered, about cities he had visited, about a girl at a tavern who had poured him free ale. Yeoman listened. Young, energetic, honest. The scent doesn't lie. And lonely, beneath all the chatter. Kai slightly unstable, the sign of someone who never had a teacher. You're self-taught, said Yeoman at some point. Ren stopped short. How did you… Kai, said Yeoman. Uneven. Like a river with the wrong channel. The energy is there, the current is wrong. Never had a teacher, Ren admitted. Father died when I was 12. Taught myself from books. Books are a poor way to learn, said Yeoman. I know. A pause. You could… He stopped. Could what? No, never mind. You're almost a god. Why would you… Say it. Ren looked at the ground. You could show me how to do it right, he said quietly. Teaching people, thought Yeoman, wasn't in the plan. But this guy came himself. Honestly. Without calculation. In the evening by the campfire, said Yeoman. Ren looked up. Seriously, I don't usually joke. Ren smiled. Wide, like a child. First student, the system noted. Registered. Transfer of knowledge. Bonus for teaching, plus 50 XP with each significant student progress. That's also a mechanic, Yeoman realized. The nine-tailed fox is not only a warrior, a teacher too. On the fourth day, a roadside inn, large, noisy, merchants, hunters, travelers from a dozen cities. Yeoman sat in human form at a corner table, amber eyes dimmed to ordinary brown, simple clothing, tails fully concealed. Invisible among people, an interesting feeling, he thought. After months of everyone watching you to be nobody, something happened at the counter. He heard an argument. Ugly. The innkeeper and a young woman. The innkeeper's sharp voice demanding payment that wasn't there. The woman's quiet voice explaining, asking, not quite pleading, but close. Yeoman didn't get involved. Not my business. The smell reached him a minute later. Fear, fatigue, hunger. Old hunger, several days of it. Not my business. The innkeeper said something crude. Loudly, for the room. The room laughed. Not my Yeoman stood up. He walked to the counter. A woman of about 20, dark hair, clothing that had once been expensive, now worn. Face tired, proud. Kai, unexpectedly, iron mid. An unusual type, something between a wind mage and a combat telepath. How much does she owe? Said Yeoman to the innkeeper. The innkeeper looked at him. Assessed. Simple clothing, young, unremarkable. What's it to you? How much? 12 copper. Yeoman put down 12 copper. Then 6 more. For dinner? The innkeeper took them without a word. Yeoman turned to the woman. She looked at him with that expression when you don't know whether to be angry or grateful. I didn't ask, she said. I know. Then why? Because I could, said Yeoman. Go eat. He went back to his table. A minute later she sat across from him. Without asking. With her own food. Layla, she said. Wind mage. Former court mage of House Urn. Former, because House Urn was destroyed 2 months ago by the Crimson Flame cult. The cult again, Yeoman noted. Yeoman, he said. She looked at him, then at his eyes. Brown now, but something in them. Some kind of glint. You're not human, she said evenly. No. A demon? Yes. She thought for a second, then continued eating. Calmly. Where are you traveling? She asked. To Astrid. To the king. Why? He asked. And you obeyed? I decided it was more convenient this way, said Yeoman. Layla looked at him with new interest. The Crimson Flame cult killed everyone I knew, she said without warning. Evenly. Like a fact. I'm going to the capital to file a complaint with the Royal Council. A pause. I know nothing will come of it. But there's nowhere else to go. Minimal effectiveness, Yeoman agreed. Thank you for the assessment. But there's another way. What way? With me, said Yeoman. I have an audience with the king. Your testimony about the cult is more useful than the royal council. Layla watched for a long time. Why are you offering this? She said. The Crimson Flame cult is my problem too, said Yeoman, and he paused. You lost everything. Nowhere else to go. You said so yourself. You need somewhere to go. You're suggesting I join a demon. I'm suggesting we travel in the same direction. A long pause. All right, said Layla. The next morning the group was one person larger. Ren looked at Layla with that open admiration he gave to everything new. You're beautiful, he said. I know, said Layla. And you're not bothered by that? Being angry at the truth is pointless. Ren thought about it. Smart, he added. I know that too. Era walked beside Yeoman and watched the exchange. She's interesting, said Era quietly. Yes. Did you notice she looks at you differently than the others? I noticed, said Yeoman. And? And nothing. I'm on my way to the capital to see the king. Everything else? Think about later. Era was quiet for a moment. Yeoman, she said. Yes? You have more and more people around you. I notice. How do you feel? How do I feel? He thought. Before, I was alone. Then Lord Deal, Era. Then Sarah. Then Ren. Now Layla. People who walk alongside. Not because they have to, because they want to. Unfamiliar, he said. Good or bad? Good, for now, said Yeoman. Astrid was enormous. Yeoman had seen large cities in Choi Min-jun's life, Seoul, Busan. But Astrid was different. Not by skyscrapers, by the scale of faith and power embedded in stone. Triple walls, each successive one higher than the last. The innermost with key runes along the entire perimeter, a bluish glow visible even in daylight. The towers of the higher key academy in the center, 7, in different aura colors. And above everything, the royal spire. White stone, celestial rank key forged into the foundation. A symbol of power visible from 20 kilometers away. Big, said Ren. You say that about everything, said Layla. Because everything is big, said Ren. Yeoman stood and looked. A city where the king who fears me lives, he thought. An army, mages, walls with key runes. All of this against one fox if needed. I feel every stone of this city through the earth. 38,000 people. A vibration like a vast living organism. Impressive. At the gates, a guard of iron upper rank. A rarity even for the capital. Names and purpose of visit. Era Dale, daughter of the Lord of Valheim, said Era, before Yeoman could speak. Voice confident, without a trace of apology. And escort. By personal invitation of His Majesty. The guard looked at them. At Sarah with her Key Academy badge. At Ren, with an unreadable expression. At Layla. At Yeoman. And lingered on the amber eyes that Yeoman hadn't hidden. The demon Yeoman? The guard asked. Yes. The guard nodded, slightly tensely. Open the gates, he told the second guard. They were housed in the guest quarter. 3 rooms, view of the central square, a decent place. Yeoman noted that the windows had no bars. The corridor was spacious, and there were several exits. Not a prison. For now. The king's envoy arrived 2 hours later. Young, in livery, with professional impassivity. The audience is scheduled for tomorrow, he said. The second hour after sunrise. A pause. His Majesty requests that Lord Yeoman appear in human form. Fine, said Yeoman. His Majesty also requests that he appear alone. No, said Ira immediately. The envoy looked at her. Lady Deal, I am the daughter of the Lord of Valheim, an official escort. Protocol requires the presence of an escort at the audience of a guest. The envoy opened his mouth. Closed it. This was technically a correct argument. I will inform His Majesty. Do so, said Era. The envoy left. Ren looked at Era with admiration. You just blocked a royal order by quoting protocol. It wasn't an order, It was a request dressed as an order. She looked at Yeoman. You don't mind? I was planning to go alone, said Yeoman. I know. That's why I intervened. She looked at him directly. You're in his city, in his palace, alone against a king who has an army and doesn't trust you. A pause. Going alone is a bad idea. Logical, thought Yeoman. Fine, he said. In the evening, Layla knocked on his door. She came in, stood by the window, looked at the city. Yeoman, she said. Yes. I've been thinking about what you offered at the inn. A pause. To travel with you. I agreed because there was nowhere else to go. She turned. But I want to ask directly, what do you expect in return? Nothing, said Yeoman. That doesn't happen. It does. Yeoman, she looked at him firmly. I'm a combat mage with a good rank, potentially useful. You're a demon growing toward the 9th heaven. You must want something. She's right to think that. A reasonable calculation. Do you remember House Ern? He asked. Every day. The cult killed them. The cult hunts me. He looked at her. A common enemy is not nothing. A pause. And you're smart. Smart people nearby are useful. That's practical. Yes? And only that? Yeoman thought for a second. And because having nowhere to go is bad, he said. I know that from experience. Layla watched for a long time. Then nodded. Slowly. Fine, she said. An honest answer. She turned toward the door. Layla, said Yeoman. Yes? Your Kai is unstable, like Ren's. But a different reason. He has no foundation. You have a trauma. A pause. It can be healed, if you want. Layla didn't turn around. How do you know about the trauma? The key scent, said Yeoman. There's a specific pattern in those who've survived something devastating. Long silence. Maybe, she said quietly. Later, and left. The throne room of Astrid was built to overwhelm. High ceilings with key runes created a light pressure on the aura of anyone who entered. Subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to make an ordinary person feel small. Columns of white stone, a long carpet from the entrance to the throne, guards on both sides. Many guards. Gold lower and above, each one. Yeoman counted through Kai perception as he walked the carpet. 20 guards. 3 mages in alcoves, camouflaged, thinking themselves invisible. A wind mage, a fire mage, an earth mage. Bronze upper each. Serious, he assessed. This is for me, on the throne, the king, Carrion III. About 50. Large with a heavy face and sharp eyes the color of ice. Kai, unexpectedly strong. Gold upper, the strongest he had seen. Beside the throne, an advisor. An elderly mage with a platinum badge from the academy. Yeoman stopped 10 meters from the throne. Era stopped beside him, slightly behind, as protocol required. The king looked at Yeoman. For a long time. Studying him. So you are Yeoman, he said at last. Voice deep, accustomed to being listened to. Yes, your majesty. Sit. 4 tails, said Carrion. I expected to see a beast. You saw a man, said Yeoman. The appearance of a man, the king corrected. Yes. The appearance. You don't deny being a demon. No. A pause. Why deny what is visible? You destroyed the Crimson Flame cult's camp near Valheim, said the king. Alone. Neutralized a bronze rank priest. Yes. You protect villages on the roads. Take no payment. I have no need of payment. Then why? Monsters give XP, said Yeoman. Then caught that he'd said too much. They give experience. Growth. The villages are a side effect. The king watched. Honest, he said. Unexpected from a demon. Lying requires effort, said Yeoman. I prefer to spend effort on other things. On growing toward the 9th heaven. Yes. Silence in the throne room. Carrion stood. He came closer, not threateningly, but close. Stopped 3 meters away, looked directly. Yeoman, he said. I have ruled this kingdom for 30 years. I have seen demons, mages, assassins, prophets. A pause. You are the first I do not understand. Is that a problem? It's inconvenient, said Carrion. I govern what I understand. I am understandable, said Yeoman. I grow toward the ninth heaven. I don't attack people. What is unclear? The motive, said Carrion. I explained it. Experience and growth is the motive of a creature, not the motive of someone who builds temples and teaches young hunters. He knows about Ren, Yeoman noted. So he's been watching closely for a long time. I'm from another world, said Yeoman. There was no magic and no demons there. There was a man who lived so as not to bother anyone. A pause. That turned out to be a poor strategy. And here you decided differently. Here I have tails and fire, said Yeoman. Logical to use them. Carrion watched for a long time, then did something Yeoman didn't expect. He laughed. Not cruelly, sincerely, briefly, but a real laugh. Tails and fire, he repeated. Yes? He returned to the throne. Sat. Yeoman. I'll speak plainly. I appreciate that. I don't trust you, said Carrion. Not because you're a demon, because you're growing toward a power that will surpass everything in this kingdom. A pause. A nine-tailed fox is a god. Literally. When you reach the ninth, neither my army nor my mages nor the runes on the walls will help if you decide to become an enemy. True, Yeoman agreed. And you say that calmly. Because it's true, false reassurance is worse. Then what am I to do with you, said Carrion. Not rhetorically. A real question? Yeoman thought for a second. Nothing, he said. Watch. I grow toward the ninth. That is unstoppable. Killing me now is only 100-year delay. Or you can use what exists. Use. You have the Crimson Flame cult growing in the eastern provinces, said Yeoman. You have 3 zones where bronze rank monsters regularly attack trade routes. You have not a single celestial cultivator in active service. The last one died 9 years ago. Carrion's expression shifted slightly. Briefly. Got him, Yeoman noted. That's a known weakness and it worries him. I'm not an ally, Yeoman continued. Not a subject. But the cult is my enemy too. Monsters give me experience. Parallel interests. A pause. Not an alliance. Parallel interests. The difference? An alliance means obligations. Parallel interests means coinciding directions. The advisor leaned toward the king's ear again. Carrion listened without taking his eyes off Yeoman. You think like a politician, said Carrion at last. I think, said Yeoman. Simply. Another long pause. Carrion watched. Icy eyes, heavy face. Yeoman held the gaze without difficulty. Demonic gaze worked passively. Even Goldupper felt a quiet discomfort from Yeoman's direct look. Very well, said Carrion at last. Here is my proposal. He spoke clearly, without ornamentation. Yeoman moves freely through the kingdom. The Key Academy does not touch him without cause. The Crimson Flame. Cult. A common enemy. Exchange of information. In return, Yeoman does not harm the kingdom's subjects and notifies the crown upon reaching each new heaven. The last point, said Yeoman. Notify. Why? So I know how dangerous you are, said Carrion plainly. Honest. Fine, said Yeoman. Air behind him exhaled slightly. He could hear it. On the way out of the throne room, they were stopped by the advisor. Elderly. A platinum badge from the academy. Celestial rank, or close. The strongest mages in the kingdom. He looked at Yeoman with that particular expression old people get when they learn something they have been thinking about their whole life. My name is Archmage Dorian, he said. Senior advisor to His Majesty. I know who you are, said Yeoman. I want to ask something. Personally. Ask. Dorian looked at him for a long time. The way one looks at a book being read, not for the first time. 1,000 years ago, he said, the last nine-tailed fox disappeared. Not died. Disappeared. A pause. I have been studying this question for 40 years. A pause. Do you know where it went? No, said Yeoman. You don't know or you won't say. I don't know. He looked directly. I don't remember past lives. Each fox is separate. Dorian nodded slowly. Something in him settled. One more question, he said. How do you feel? Truly. A strange question from an archmage. Well, said Yeoman. Why do you ask? Because Dorian watched, according to the records, the previous nine-tailed fox toward the end lost its humanity, became a god completely, forgot what people were. That was bad for both. Forgot what people were, Yeoman repeated internally. So that's where the fear of the ninth comes from. I remember, he said. I remember what people are. For now, 4 tails, said Dorian. At 9 I will still remember. Are you certain? No, said Yeoman honestly. But it's the human inside me speaking. I don't think that disappears simply from having more tails. Dorian watched for a long time, then nodded. I will follow your growth with interest, he said. Likewise, said Yeoman. 25,000 XP came slowly, 3 months after Astrid. Not because the hunting had gotten worse, because more XP was needed now, and the opponents were becoming more serious. Bronze rank monsters, remnants of the cult in the eastern provinces, and faith. By that time, 470 believers across the region, 3 small temples. The passive XP gain had accelerated. It works as a multiplier, Yeoman noted. Faith is a real force, not a metaphor. Tails, 5/9. Size in fox form, large beast. Weight, 80 kilograms. New skills. Fox domain, Phi 2, expanded to 100 meters. Effects strengthened. Inside the domain. Yeoman sees everything. Illusions are absolute. Time is subjectively distorted. Fox seal, placing a key mark on a living being. The mark strengthens the host's cultivation times 1.3, creates a Kai bond with Yeoman. Irreversible without his consent. Partial transformation, taking an intermediate form. A human with fox ears and tails, 5 visible tails. Appearance, beautiful in an inhuman way. Passive aura of majesty. Creatures near Yeoman feel instinctive reverence. Not control, an impulse. Kai level, bronze upper. To the 6th heaven, 80,000 XP. System note. Starting from the 5th heaven, the host's reputation affects the rate of growth. Believers, students, followers accelerate evolution. The path to the 9th. Through connections with the world. Yeoman stood before the river in fox form, 5 golden tails, large, beautiful, dangerous. He looked at the water. 80,000 to the next, he thought. A long way, but the fox seal. That matters. He thought about that skill for a long time. To place a mark, to strengthen a person, to create a bond. Irreversible. That's responsibility. A great one. The word came first from Ren. They were sitting by a campfire, already in a different village, already a different hunt. And Ren was looking thoughtfully at Era, then at Layla, then at Sarah, who had come again on academy business. Yeoman, said Ren. Yes. You have a harem. Era choked on her tea. Layla looked at Ren with the expression of someone who wants to hit a person but understands he didn't mean it. Sarah covered her face with her hand. Ren, said Era evenly. We are not a harem. Well, 3 smart, beautiful women around 1 demon. Ren. What? Be quiet. Yeoman watched this. Thought. 3 women nearby, each different. Era, the first he had met, smart, brave, with that warmth he had felt from the very beginning. Layla, broken and not accepting it, with enormous potential beneath a layer of cold. Sarah, a professional who hides something alive behind the professionalism. What they felt, he wasn't sure. The aura of majesty from the 5th heaven influences passively. That's unfair. People are drawn to him partly because that's how the aura works. That bothered him. Ren, he said. Yes? You don't understand the problem you raised. Which one? The aura affects people nearby, said Yeoman. Passively. They feel reverence, attraction. A pause. I don't know what of what they feel is real and what comes from the aura. Silence by the campfire. That, Ren thought. That sounds bad. It's a problem, Yeoman agreed. Era looked at him. For a long time. Then, Yeoman, she said. I met you when you were a little fox cub who couldn't speak. A pause. Before the aura. Before Five Tails. A pause. I remember what I felt then. That's not the aura. Yeoman looked at her. She remembers the beginning. When I was a fox cub by the river, Layla looked into the fire. Then quietly, I also know how to tell an imposed feeling from my own. I'm a combat telepath. A pause. The aura is background. Nothing more. Sarah said nothing. She just looked at Yeoman with that professional gaze behind which something alive was hiding. Yeoman nodded, slowly, accepted, remembered. A week after the fifth heaven, a letter from Dorian. The Archmage wrote briefly, Yeoman, the first priest of the Crimson Flame cult is alive. The one you neutralized near Valheim was not the real first priest. A decoy. The real one. Location unknown. Rank, presumed Jade. Jade, Yeoman read and thought. Jade, the second to last rank before Celestial. I'm currently Bronze Upper. The gap is enormous. Jade, said Layla when she read it. Voice even, but the scent said otherwise. He was there. When the cult destroyed House Urn, I saw him from a distance. A pause. I couldn't do anything. Now we can, said Yeoman. You're Bronze Upper. He's Jade. For now, Bronze Upper. Yeoman, Layla looked at him directly. The gap between Bronze and Jade isn't just ranks. It's a chasm. A Jade cultivator is a disaster on the level of an army. I know. You know. And what? And I will grow, said Yeoman. Faith accelerates. Combat accelerates. Finding him before he finds us is also important. Era looked at the map on the table. The Crimson Flame cult has bases in 7 provinces, she said, according to Academy data. But those are known bases. A pause. A Jade rank priest won't be in a known location. Then an unknown one, said Yeoman. How do you find the unknown? Through the known, he said. The cultists I've seen, they all carried Kai of a specific shade. A specific trace from the implantation. A pause. If the trace is the same everywhere, the source is one. A pause. Find the trace in the earth. You feel Kai through the soil. Several kilometers, said Yeoman. A Jade rank, farther. Kai like that leaves a trace like a fire. That could take months, said Sarah. Or weeks, said Yeoman. Depends on whether he's moving. He looked at the map. 80,000 XP to the 6th heaven. A Jade rank enemy. 400 believers. 5 people nearby. The path is long, but there is a road. That night Yeoman went outside the city. He took fox form, 5 tails, large, golden. Sat on a hill, looked at the 3 moons. System. XP. 25,480 over 80,000. Believers. 523. Students. 1. Ren. Progress. Iron lower. Followers. 3. Era. Layla. Sarah. Status. Known to the king. Agreement with the crown. Enemy. First priest. Jade rank. Behind him. Footsteps. Light ones. Era. She came out onto the hill and stopped beside him. Looked at the moons. Good silence. Yeoman, she said. Yes. Do you remember the first night? When I found you by the river? I remember, you were small. 1 tail. A pause. You looked at me as if you were assessing a threat. I was. And now? She looked at him. Am I still a threat? Yeoman looked at her. Green eyes, serious face. The first person he had met in this world. The Lord's daughter who had placed a medallion in front of a fox cub by the river and said, "Come if you need to." No, he said. Then what? He thought for a second. The first, he said. You were the first. Era looked at him for a long time. Then slowly smiled. Not widely, but a real smile. Good, she said quietly. They sat on the hill under 3 moons, a fox with 5 golden tails and the girl who had been the first to give him a medallion. The 9th heaven, far away. The first priest, far away. But there were people nearby. And that, as it turned out, mattered more than the distance.